Ben, although exceptionally attractive and talented in both academics and sports, had no friends because he was the biggest bully in school. In school, everyone feared even making eye contact with him, knowing they might become his next target. Even the teachers were apprehensive, as he often played pranks on them and disrupted their classes, and they were powerless to stop him. One day, the math teacher introduced a substitute teacher named Jeff, who was just a year older than the students but had advanced to college early due to his intelligence. The teacher explained that Jeff would be filling in during her maternity leave and asked the class to be kind to him. Ben smirked at his new target, noticing Jeff's vulnerability, which made him an easy target for bullying. Ben assured the teacher, "Don't worry, we'll look after him." The math teacher sighed, concerned for Jeff and how he would cope with Ben's behavior. After the teacher left, Ben approached Jeff, getting close to his face with a cheeky smile. "Why aren't you wearing glasses?" he asked. Jeff responded, "Am I supposed to wear them?" Ben replied, "Yeah, all nerds wear glasses, and I think you'd look cute in them." Jeff calmly said, "Please return to your seat." Ben, still smiling, turned and went back to his seat. Throughout the lesson, Ben continuously stared at Jeff, smirking and winking whenever their eyes met, causing Jeff to quickly look away. Observing Ben's apparent lack of attention, Jeff decided to challenge him by asking him to answer some questions. To Jeff's surprise, Ben answered all the questions correctly, even ones that hadn't been covered in class yet. After class, Ben approached Jeff again, questioning why Jeff had been staring at him during the lesson and teasingly asking if Jeff liked him. He then remarked, "I won't blame you if you do. I'm just too attractive." Jeff said, "I've heard a lot about you," and Ben asked, "Really? I hope they're good things." Jeff replied, "You think? I really love my peaceful life, and I hope my stay here will be peaceful too, so please don't cause trouble for me." With that, he left. The next day, Ben saw Jeff in the washroom removing his contact lenses and washing his face. He sneakily took them and left, smirking. As the minutes passed, Jeff hadn't shown up for math class yet. Ben evilly smiled, knowing what he had done. A few moments later, Jeff entered the classroom wearing glasses, and the moment Ben saw him, his heart fluttered. He mumbled to himself, "So cute," as he watched Jeff, who didn't even glance at him. The class ended, and everyone left, but Ben remained seated, still staring at Jeff. Jeff approached Ben and said, "Can I have my contact lenses back?" Ben asked, "How did you know I took them?" And Jeff replied, "I'm not blind, you know." Ben retorted, "I was going to give them back after class, but now that I see you in glasses, I don't want to return them. You look so cute in them, I can't take my eyes off you." Jeff simply said, "You can keep them," then left. In the following days, Ben became so focused on Jeff that he hadn't bullied anyone in a while. Jeff continued to wear different contact lenses, and whenever Ben got the chance, he would hide them. When Jeff had finally had enough, he confronted Ben and asked him to stop bothering him. However, Ben defiantly replied, "I won't stop. I've already fallen in love with you." Shocked, Jeff exclaimed, "What?" and quickly ran away. Ben just smiled, remarking to himself, "How can such a big human be so cute?" Jeff began to avoid Ben at all costs, running away whenever he saw him. The only place he couldn't avoid him was in class, but as soon as class ended, Jeff would leave, even before everyone else. One early morning, Jeff arrived at school as usual, when he heard someone say, "Hey, teacher, why are you here so early?" Startled, he turned to see Ben. Preparing to flee, Jeff stammered, "I should be asking you that question. You're always the last person to arrive in school." Ben replied, "I couldn't sleep because I missed you and wanted to see your face." Jeff immediately ran off, but Ben quickly caught up to him and slipped his hand into Jeff's, intertwining their fingers. Jeff tried to remove his hand, but it wouldn't budge. He asked Ben why he couldn't move his hand, and Ben replied, "We're glued together." Jeff exclaimed, "Are you crazy? How am I supposed to teach with our hands stuck together? We have to get rid of it now." Ben responded, "I used the toughest glue I could find. There's nothing we can do to make it come off unless." Jeff eagerly asked, "Unless what?" Ben replied, "Unless we cut our hands off." Jeff sighed heavily, annoyed and frustrated, saying, "I really hate you right now. Ben replied, and I love you. Jeff tried everything he could to separate their hands, but it was futile. While he frantically searched for ways to wash off the glue, Ben remained relaxed, smiling and staring at him. Frustrated and sore, Jeff eventually gave up. Ben tried to comfort him, saying, "It's okay, at least we get to spend the day together." Jeff rolled his eyes and ignored him. He contemplated taking a leave and going to the hospital, but he couldn't because Ben's class was far behind in the syllabus due to their teacher's frequent absences during her pregnancy. Jeff asked Ben to behave himself and went to class, feeling apprehensive about what the students might think upon seeing their hands glued together. As Jeff and Ben entered the class, the students noticed their predicament, realizing it was Ben's doing, and some even felt sorry for Jeff. Jeff struggled to teach with only one hand, while Ben seemed unbothered, taking every opportunity to kiss Jeff's hand, oblivious to the fact that they were in front of the entire class. Right after class, Jeff took a leave, explaining the situation, and escorted himself and Ben to the hospital, where they were able to separate their hands and wash off the glue. As they were leaving, Ben remarked, "Such a shame, I thought we were going to spend the whole day together." Jeff responded sternly, "Can you please stop with your childish acts?" Ben retorted, "Can you stop running away from me?" Jeff didn't reply and left. In the days that followed, Ben refrained from playing childish pranks, as Jeff had requested, but he continued to shadow Jeff's every move. He even feigned needing help with studies just to be near him. Jeff knew Ben didn't require assistance with his studies. After all, he was the top student in the school. However, he felt obligated to help Ben as his teacher. Intentionally, Jeff assigned Ben elementary school math problems to solve. Ben replied he couldn't solve them, insisting that Jeff teach him. Jeff remarked, "These are elementary school math problems. You excel in college-level math, but struggle with these?" Ben replied, "My brain doesn't function when I'm around you." Jeff responded, "Then maybe I should stay away from you." As Jeff began to leave, Ben swiftly grabbed his hand, saying, "Oh, my brain is functioning now. It's even faster when I'm with you." Then proceeded to solve the worksheet Jeff had given him in under 30 seconds and requested more challenging problems. One night, Ben was working his usual shift as a bartender in a nightclub when he spotted Jeff holding several cans of beer. Surprised, he approached Jeff and asked why he was there. Jeff, equally surprised, inquired about Ben's presence, to which Ben explained that he was working part-time as a bartender. Just then, a group of 5 guys approached them, with one of them impatiently asking Jeff why he was taking so long with the beers and hitting his head. Angered by the behavior, Ben intervened, grabbing the guy's hand to stop him from hitting Jeff, and sternly warned, "Hit him one more time, and I will break your hands and legs." The guy scoffed and demanded to know who Ben was and why he was interfering. Ben didn't reply and then stated, "Drinks that are not sold here are not allowed inside." The guy freed his hand from Ben's grip and punched him. Unfazed, Ben smirked and retorted, "You started it." With ease, he swiftly defended himself and subdued the guy and his friends. However, the altercation caught the attention of the club manager, who promptly kicked them all out and subsequently fired Ben. Ben wasn't bothered by the incident and offered to walk Jeff to the bus station. Jeff accepted the offer, and as they walked, Ben inquired, "Who were those guys? Are they bullying you?" Jeff replied, "You're no different from them." Ben fell silent. Jeff continued, "I thought you were a rich, spoiled kid. What are you doing working in a place like this as a high school student?" Ben responded, "My family isn't even close to being rich." Surprised, Jeff asked, "Then do you have problems at home or with your parents?" Ben shook his head, replying, "I have no problems at home, and my parents love me very much. Why would you think that?" Ben explained, "Bullies in movies are always portrayed as either spoiled rich brats or kids with unhappy lives at home, wanting others to be unhappy like them. I assumed you were one of them." Ben took a moment before responding, "Actually, I used to get bullied a lot in my old school. Then I got tired of it and decided to stand up for myself. I started boxing to protect myself and became strong. When I transferred to a new school, I decided to assert my dominance so nobody would even try to bully me." Jeff nodded solemnly. "That doesn't mean you should turn into a bully yourself. You could have used your strength to protect others from being bullied, instead of becoming the bully. You've been through it, and you know how much it sucks." Ben looked thoughtful. You're right. I don't know why I never thought of that, and how I turned out this way, he admitted. Jeff reassured him, it's not too late to change your ways. Ben asked what he should do, and Jeff advised him to apologize to the people he had wronged and gradually get to know them. They bid goodbye and parted ways at the bus station. At school, Ben tried to follow Jeff's advice, but it wasn't easy. His classmates would run away from him before he could even approach them, and even when he attempted to help teachers, they would quickly decline his assistance and leave. Feeling frustrated, Ben confided in Jeff, expressing that progress was slow. Jeff asked him what he wanted to do next. Ben went to the announcement room and turned on the speakers, capturing everyone's attention. With sincerity, he apologized to everyone, especially those he had bullied in the past, including the teachers. Ben acknowledged his past behavior and declared that he was now a changed person. He expressed his hope that they would no longer avoid him and offered to be friends. Additionally, he assured them that they could come to him if they ever needed help of any kind. After making the announcement during class hours, Ben returned to his class and approached the teacher to apologize. He noticed that everyone was staring at him with puzzled expressions. Despite the uncertainty, Ben felt a sense of accomplishment. He thought to himself that it was a great start, considering that people usually avoided even making eye contact with him. As school ended, a crowd gathered, including students from other classes, to witness a courageous girl approach Ben. She handed him a jar filled with heart-shaped origami. Ben took the jar, glancing at the crowd, eagerly waiting for his reaction. Normally, he would have knocked the jar from her hand and played scary pranks on her for a week. However, this time he surprised everyone by smiling widely at her and thanking her sincerely. The crowd gasped in shock, witnessing Ben smile like an angel instead of a devil. Encouraged by this, another girl stepped forward and handed Ben a pack of gummies. Still smiling, he accepted the gift and thanked her warmly. Emboldened by Ben's unexpected response, other students, both girls and guys, followed suit, offering him gifts. If not for his previous behavior as a bully, Ben would have been the school's heartthrob, desired by both girls and guys. Other students began seeking his help with studying, and even teachers requested his assistance in marking exam papers. Ben felt a sense of joy within him, as he had never experienced such acceptance before. After everyone had dispersed and gone home, he went searching for Jeff. Luckily, he spotted Jeff as he was leaving the school gates. He hurried to catch up to him, holding the bunch of gifts in his hands, with a wide smile on his face. When Jeff saw the gifts and Ben's smile, he remarked, "Are you happy now that you're getting attention from girls?" Ben moved closer to Jeff's face, smirking, and replied, "Don't worry, I've only got eyes for you." Nervously, Jeff glanced at Ben's face, then to his lips, before clearing his throat and pushing him away. "We're going in different directions. See you tomorrow," Jeff said hurriedly, before running off. Ben smiled to himself, murmuring, "He wants to see me," as he made his way home. Ben transformed from the most hated and feared person with no friends in school to the most loved. Adored by both students and teachers alike, Ben had undergone a complete change for the better. He was always available to offer help whenever needed, whether it was assisting with studies or protecting his schoolmates from bullies, both inside and outside of school. One day, a group of students from Ben's class found themselves in trouble with students from another school. Desperate for help, they quickly called on Ben to come to their aid. Upon arrival, Ben was confronted by the very students who used to bully him. They mocked him, asking if he was the one they had called to protect them. Unfazed, Ben stepped forward and challenged them to punch him. The leader of the group arrogantly responded, "We were already going to do that," and delivered a punch to Ben's face, causing his lip to bleed. Ben's classmates grew worried for him, but in a flash, Ben retaliated, swiftly overpowering the bullies and sending them fleeing in fear for their lives. Before his classmates could even thank him for his help, Ben had already left the scene, wearing a grin from ear to ear. Ben went straight to Jeff's house and knocked on the door. When Jeff opened it, Ben's gaze immediately fell on Jeff, wearing glasses and just a large shirt with nothing underneath. Ben couldn't help but comment, "You look cute and sexy." He then lifted Jeff's shirt, teasingly asking, "Wait, are you wearing nothing underneath?" He saw that Jeff was wearing shorts, then chuckled and remarked, "Oh, I almost got excited." Without waiting to be invited in, he walked into Jeff's house and closed the door behind him. Jeff removed his glasses and stated, "I didn't ask you to come in, and how did you know where I live?" Ignoring Jeff's questions, Ben continued to scan him from top to bottom and remarked, "Did you open the door for a stranger dressed like this?" Jeff replied, "You're not a stranger." Ben countered, "Apart from me, you shouldn't look this cute for anyone to see." Jeff noticed the bruise on Ben's lip and asked if he had gotten into a fight. Ben admitted to it and said that he had come to Jeff's house because he couldn't go home looking like that, or else his parents would worry. Jeff inquired, "So what do you want me to do?" Ben grabbed Jeff by the waist, drawing him close until their faces were inches apart, noses touching. He said, "I want you to apply ointment for me." Jeff replied, "I don't have ointment." Ben then suggested, "Then a kiss will be enough, a French kiss." Jeff quickly pushed Ben away, grabbing his hand and pulling him, urging him to leave. However, Ben resisted, rushing to lie on the bed and pleading, "Okay, just a peck on the lips." Ignoring Ben, Jeff attempted to grab him again. Ben, trying to resist, grabbed onto anything he could, including a pillow on the bed. As Jeff pulled him, Ben inadvertently pulled the pillow, causing a photo card of himself to fall to the floor. Ben looked at Jeff astonished and asked Jeff, "Is that me? Why do you have a picture of me under your pillow?" Jeff nervously replied, "I don't know how it ended up there," then swiftly picked it up and changed the subject, asking Ben if he still needed a job since he was fired from his last one. Ben sensed Jeff was trying to change the subject, but he didn't press further about the photo. Instead, he expressed his interest in finding a job. When Jeff mentioned his parents were looking to hire a waiter for their chicken shop, Ben's eyes lit up with excitement. He exclaimed, "The chicken shop right next to your house?" Jeff nodded, and Ben couldn't contain his enthusiasm, saying, "So I'll get to see you every day, even after school. And I can even crash at your place sometimes?" Jeff quickly stated, "You're not crashing at my place." He then checked the time and urged Ben to start heading home, saying he could come apply for the job himself the next day. Ben hesitated, asking about the kiss. Without replying, Jeff pushed Ben towards the door. As Jeff opened the door, Ben turned and hugged him, declaring, "I love you," before planting a kiss on his lips and running out. Jeff touched his lips in stunned disbelief before shutting the door and collapsing to the ground, feeling embarrassed as he stared at the photo card. Ben wasted no time in applying for the job. With his workplace now close to Jeff's house, he waited to leave with Jeff after school every day, determined not to let him escape. Once Jeff got home, he would hide inside until Ben left after his shift. He wouldn't even open the door when Ben knocked, waiting until Ben eventually gave up and left. He couldn't keep that up for long, as his parents asked him to take over the kitchen because they were going on a date for their anniversary. As Jeff entered, Ben greeted him with a smile, but Jeff avoided eye contact. Throughout the busy day, Ben served customers, as Jeff helped prepare the dishes alongside the other workers. The hustle and bustle of the place kept them occupied, leaving little time for interaction. However, as closing time approached, the other workers left, leaving Jeff behind to check if everything was in place before locking up. Jeff worked in the kitchen. Ben approached and hugged him from behind, saying, "Let me recharge for a moment." Jeff allowed him to stay like that briefly, before gently moving away from the hug and turning to face Ben. Ben expressed, "I missed you," to which Jeff replied, "You see me every day." Ben shook his head and admitted, "It's not the same." Jeff then said, "You really shouldn't be doing this. I'm your teacher and you are my student." Ben countered, "We are the same age." Jeff clarified, "I'm a year older than you." Ben insisted, "It's the same thing." Jeff replied, "That doesn't change that I'm your teacher. What do you think people will say when they see us in a relationship?" Ben suggested optimistically, "We can have a secret relationship. Secret romance is really exciting." Jeff responded, "How do you know secret romances are exciting? Have you ever experienced one?" Ben admitted, "No, you are my first." Jeff then advised, "You should focus on studying and getting into college, and stop playing around." Ben retorted, "You know, I don't need to worry about college, and I'm not playing around, I'm really in love with you." Jeff stared at Ben for a moment before mentioning, "Your math teacher will be coming back in 2 weeks' time." Excitedly, Ben asked, "So will you date me after she comes back and you are no longer my teacher?" Without replying, Jeff tossed the store keys to Ben, asking him to lock up, and left. Jeff was walking with some teachers in school when a hand suddenly grabbed him and pulled him into an empty room, pinning him against the wall. Startled, he looked to see that it was Ben. Jeff whispered, "What are you doing?" Ben replied, "We are having a secret romance. Isn't it exciting?" Jeff replied firmly, "No, let me go. Those teachers will start wondering where I am." He tried to push Ben away, but Ben's grip was too strong. Ben countered, "Okay, I'll let you go, but only if you let me kiss you, just one kiss." He then pouted his lips for the kiss, but Jeff hit his lips, asking him to get to class. Ben released Jeff, looking at him with a sulky face. Jeff mumbled to himself, "I can't believe I'm about to do this," then pulled Ben in for a kiss. As they were kissing, they heard a sound from the room, prompting Jeff to quickly pull away and run out. As Jeff left, Ben said to himself, smiling, "I want to keep him in my pocket." During the week, Ben continued his secret romance agenda with Jeff. He brushed fingers with Jeff when they passed each other in the hallway, stole kisses when no one was looking, and winked and blew kisses during class lessons. Jeff was even surprised to open and find his phone filled with pictures from Ben, mostly shirtless selfies. As everyone was seated, waiting for the math lesson to begin, Mrs. Spencer, the math teacher, walked in with Jeff. Ben jumped from his seat the moment he saw her. She had returned from her leave, and Jeff was there to bid everyone goodbye, as his internship had ended. Ben wanted to follow Jeff as he left, but he had turned over a new leaf and couldn't abruptly leave in the middle of class like he would have in the past. Eagerly, he waited for school to be over. It felt like time had stopped. Ben was the first to leave the moment the school bell rang. Ben hurried straight to Jeff's door without even glancing at the chicken shop. He knocked continuously and entered the moment Jeff opened the door. Jeff asked why he was at his house instead of the shop. Without answering that, Ben said, "Mrs. Spencer is back," Jeff asked. "So?" Ben insisted. "So you are no longer my teacher." Jeff replied, and Ben pressed on, "And so we can now date." "You promised," Jeff said. "I don't remember making such a promise." Ben argued, "I'm always the one chasing after you, and you have never once told me you don't like me." Jeff smirked, and with one hand, pulled Ben closer by the waist, saying in a low, raspy voice, "Why are you sulking?" "I only said I don't remember making such a promise. I didn't say we wouldn't date." Ben gasped in surprise, his hand covering his mouth. "Are you showing your true colors now?" he asked incredulously. Jeff retorted, "What? Don't you find me cute anymore?" Ben replied, "I love you even more now. So hot." Jeff reminded him, "You should get to work. My parents will fire you if you're late without permission. Let's talk after," with a soft whisper of boyfriend in Ben's ear. Ben nodded, still processing, and turned to leave without further inquiry. Jeff added, "The door will be open for you. No need to knock," as Ben exited. Ben was filled with excitement at work, eagerly anticipating the end of his shift. After work, he made his way back to Jeff's house, following Jeff's instruction to enter without knocking. As he began to open the door, Jeff pulled him inside, closing the door with Ben's back against it. Jeff pressed against him, kissing him. Ben returned the kiss with equal fervor. Their kiss starts softly, their lips in a tender embrace. It was soon fueled by a fiery passion between them. Their bodies pressed together and their breath getting heavier, their hands hungrily roaming in each other's shirts. Just then, Ben's phone rang and he picked it up as they were still kissing. It was his parents on the line, urgently asking him to come home and look after his younger siblings as they were traveling that night and didn't want to risk missing their flight. Jeff heard the phone call and pulled away from the kiss, meeting Ben's disappointed gaze. "Why is our moment always interrupted?" Ben lamented. Jeff smiled and reassured Ben, saying, "We have forever to do whatever we want to do." He kissed Ben on the cheek and opened the door for him. Ben bid Jeff goodbye and reluctantly left. Ben graduated from high school with a list of colleges to choose from. Despite Jeff having already graduated, Ben decided to attend the same college as Jeff. They officially started dating, And even with their busy schedules, they made sure to spend time together every day.